Good evening aspirants, welcome to daily editorial analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 31st December 2024. So these are the two important editorial articles we are going to discuss in this video. The first is about the state and danger of poorly manufactured drugs. This article is taken from Hindu newspaper. This editorial article discusses about the danger of poorly manufactured drugs and what are the drug regulation in India. And in this article discussion, we shall also discuss about the challenges in regulating drug manufacturing in India. So this is about the first article. The second article, in the name of democracy. This editorial article is taken from Indian Express newspaper. In this discussion, we are going to discuss the basics of democracy and what are the views of philosophers on democracy, what are the challenges faced by democracy in today's world, and what can be the suggestions to improve these challenges. So this is what we are going to discuss in the second news article discussion. Now let us get into the discussion. Now look at this article. This article discusses the issue of poorly manufactured drugs in India, and it also discusses about the challenges faced by the Indian states in ensuring the drug quality due to poor regulatory system and also due to loopholes in the regulatory system. So this is what the article is about. In this context, let us discuss about the regulatory loopholes in India's drug manufacturing industries and also about how India regulates the drug industry and what are the challenges in it, and lastly about the suggestions to improve these challenges. So this is what we are going to discuss in this news article discussion. Now let us get into it. Now firstly about the regulatory loophole. Under Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940, pharmaceutical companies which are licensed in one state can sell drugs across the country. So this creates a problem because the states like Karnataka have no control over inspecting or stopping the sale of drugs which are manufactured in another state. Even if they found they are substandard drugs, they cannot stop the manufacturing of drugs because it is manufactured in another state. So this regulatory loophole is used by many drug manufacturers to sell substandard drugs or low quality drugs in other states. So this is a major regulatory loophole in India's drug industry. Now if you look at the recent scenario, the Karnataka's drug testing has revealed more than 600 drugs out of 900 failed drug samples over these past 3 years were manufactured from other states. So most of the drugs which failed the drug test are manufactured in other states rather than in Karnataka. So this has created a issue of concerns over Karnataka. Here the only action Karnataka can take is prosecuting the company, which is time consuming and will not immediately stop the sale of the drugs. So this is a major problem faced by many states in India, and this is what discussed in this news article. Now let us see how drugs are regulated in India. Firstly about the central regulation. The Central Drug Standard Control Organization, that is CDSCO, which functions under the Ministry of Health, oversees the drug regulation in India. This CDSCO is led by a Drug Controller General of India, that is DCGI, and he is responsible for approving new drugs and clinical trials in India. He is also responsible for setting the drug standards. Now coming to the state regulation, every state has its own body to monitor the manufacturing, sale and distribution of medicines within the state. So every state can create its own body to monitor the drug regulation. Now coming to the legal framework, the Drugs and Cosmetics Act of 1940 and the Drugs and Cosmetic Rules of 1945 ensure the medicines and drugs are safe, effective and of good quality. So these are the two important acts regarding the drug regulation in India. Now let us see what are the challenges in current drug regulation. The first one is decentralized oversight. As per Drugs and Cosmetic Acts of 1940, the states are responsible for licensing and inspecting the pharmaceutical manufacturing units. So states can inspect the pharmaceutical industries within their territories. So they cannot go outside of their state and inspect another territory manufacturing units. So this decentralized approach creates a concern over the drug regulation. And because of this regulatory loophole is used by many drug manufacturers who manufacture drug in one state and distribute across the country. So let me tell you an example. If a drug manufacturer operates and manufactures drug in Tamil Nadu and he sells those drugs in all other states of India, then if a drug is found malfunctioned in Haryana, then the Haryana government cannot come to Tamil Nadu to inspect the drug manufacturer's factory in Tamil Nadu, because the drug regulation in India does not allow a state to go and check the manufacturer in another state. So this loophole is used by many drug manufacturers and they locate in states like Gujarat and Maharashtra, and they manufacture drugs and sell malfunctioned or substandard drugs all over the states in India. So there is no centralized approach to curb the malfunctioned drugs in India. So states such as Karnataka are unable to regulate drugs manufactured in another states. So the responsibility to address a violation lies solely with the state where the manufacturing facility is located. So this is a major regulatory loophole in drug manufacturing in India. Now coming to the next challenge is prolonged legal process. The criminal prosecutions for manufacturing substandard drugs are time consuming. The trials may stretch for years, allowing the offended pharmaceutical companies to continue the production and sales during the investigation. States like Karnataka lack the authority to suspend or revoke the license out of state manufacturers. Only the home state can revoke the license of these manufacturers. So the states who are receiving the drugs lack the legal capacity to take such actions. So this is regarding the legal process and challenges in prosecution of those companies. The next challenge is lack of centralized information sharing. See, there is no central repository for drug quality test result. There is no centralized repository for inspection reports or blacklisted manufacturers. So this will impact the ability of state drug regulators and procurement agencies to make informed decisions. So this lack of a central repository will create many problems. For example, in Maharashtra drug scandal, where suspicious antibiotics were supplied to the public hospital, this could have been avoided if there is accessibility to data of the drug manufacturer's history. So if a drug manufacturer have supplied substandard drugs or low quality drugs, then it should be recorded on a central repository. So with the help of this data, we can avoid drugs buying from those manufacturers. So this will create a future offenses of the same drug manufacturer. So there should be a central repository of history of drug manufacturers' offenses and his drug supplies. The next challenge is inconsistent inspection standards, which is prevalent across the states. The quality and the quantity of the inspections may vary significantly between the states. So this will lead to uneven enforcement of drug quality standards. Now what can be the solutions and recommendations to address these challenges? The first important thing is to create a centralized database for drug quality. We have to establish a centralized database which should include the test result from all state and central drug testing laboratories. So this will enable the drug inspectors and procurement agencies to track the history of non-compliant drug manufacturers. The next important suggestion is unified licensing and inspection repository. We have to develop a national repository containing the licensing details and inspection reports of all pharmaceutical manufacturers across India. So this will enhance transparency in procurement and also in regulatory enforcement. This will allow the procurement agencies to prioritize manufacturers with better compliance records. The next one is a national blacklist of offenders. The central government has to create a central register of pharmaceutical manufacturers who are blacklisted by public procurement agencies. Even those who are penalized for producing non-compliant drugs should also be included in these registries. So this will help the procurement officers verify the manufacturer's history and his claim of compliance. So this will establish a nationwide mechanism to exclude non-compliant manufacturers. The next suggestion is about empowering states with the legal authority. We have to amend the Drugs and Cosmetics Act of 1940 in order to allow the state drug controllers to temporarily suspend or bar the out-of-state manufacturers from selling their products within the state. So for example, if a drug manufacturer is found to be guilty of manufacturing some substandard drugs, then he has to be stopped the production within the state until the legal process has to be completed. So this power has to be given to every state instead of the central organization. So we have to empower the states with the legal authority to cancel the license of the drug manufacturer if he is found guilty. So these are some of the suggestions to improve the drug regulation in India. So in this discussion, we have seen what are the recent scenario of drug regulation in India, what are the acts and regulations for drug manufacturing in India, and what are the challenges and solutions to improve the drug manufacturing regulations in India. So with this, let us conclude the discussion. This is a mains question regarding this topic. The centralized drug regulation system in India has led to uneven enforcement and inadequate oversight across the states. Critically analyze the impact of decentralization on drug quality assurance and propose measures to strengthen the regulatory coordination between union and state government. So this question can be answered from the points taken from our discussion. So interested aspirants can write the answer and post it in the comment section. Now let us move to the next news article discussion. Now look at this article. The article talks about the problems faced by democracies around the world, especially during the important elections of 2024. It focuses on how voters are losing trust in democracy and also about how democratic values are weakening around the world. The author of the article is also talking about how elections are becoming more divisive with hateful and negative speeches. So this is about the article. In this context, let us discuss the basics about the democracy. Now what is a democracy? A democracy is a system of government where power lies with the people. The word democracy comes from two Greek words. One is demos and another one is kratos. Demos means people, kratos means rule. So it means rule by the people. So this is what demos and kratos means, and from this word only democracy comes. So democracy allows citizens to participate in the governance either directly or through representatives. Now let us see a brief history of democracy. Democracy has its roots in ancient Athens during 5th century BC. In the city of Athens, the citizens actively participated in the decision-making process. The Roman Republic later introduced representative assemblies, so it further shaped the democratic principles of Athens. During Industrial Revolution, philosophers like John Locke, Jean-Jacques Rousseau promoted ideas of liberty, equality, and self-governance. So this inspired movements like American and French revolutions. Over the time, the democracy expanded globally with milestones such as women getting voting rights in 19th century and 20th centuries, making it more inclusive. So this is about a brief history of democracy. Now let us discuss what are the views of philosophers on democracy. First, about the Aristotle, he called democracy as a rule by many. However, he warned about the democracy's instability and the potential for majority tyranny. The next is Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He supported direct democracy where people make decisions collectively for the common good. Next, John Stuart Mill. He favored representative democracy, stressing free speech and debate for societal progress. Next, John Rawls. He emphasized fairness in democracy and he proposed equal opportunities and resource distribution to ensure justice. So these are some of the views of philosophers on democracy. Now let us discuss what are the types of democracy. First is direct democracy. In direct democracy, citizens participate directly in the decision making, which is like practiced in ancient Athens. Next is representative democracy. Citizens elect representatives to make decisions on their behalf. For example, in India or USA, representative democracy is followed. In countries like Switzerland, direct democracy is followed. Next, constitutional democracy. It means a government whose powers are limited by the constitution. Next, participatory democracy. This encourages citizens to engage in governance beyond voting, like fostering for broader participation, etc. So these are the types of democracy. Now let us see the key features of democracy. The first and most important feature of democracy is free and fair election. Election must be transparent and inclusive to ensure the democratic process. The Election Commission of India ensures this through Articles 324 to 329. The universal adult suffrage is given under Article 326 and this grants voting rights to all citizens aged above 18 years. The next important feature is rule of law. Everyone is equal before the law. Article 13 and 14 of Indian Constitution ensure the supremacy of Constitution and law above everyone. The next one is accountability and transparency. The governments must ensure the people about accountability and transparency. Parliamentary tools like question hour and budget approvals ensure the oversight of accountability of the government. The next important feature is separation of powers. See, balancing the powers among the legislature, executive, judiciary, which are the three organs of democracy. So this will prevent abuse of powers by one organ. So balancing of powers or separation of powers is very important in a democracy. Next is protection of fundamental rights. Constitution guarantees freedom of speech from Articles 19 to 22 and also the right to equality from Article 14 to 18. So thereby it protects the citizens' rights. The next important feature of democracy is independent media. See, a free press informs the citizens and scrutinizes the government and also promotes the public debate. Article 19 ensures the freedom of speech and expression, and this gives the right to press to inform the citizens about the accountability of the government. So independent media is an important pillar of democracy. The next is inclusive governance. Democracies must represent everyone, including marginalized groups. For this, the provisions like reservations, which is given in Article 330 to 342, ensure inclusive governance in a democracy. Economic stability and equity are also an important feature of democracy. So, policies guided by the directive principles of state policy, which is given in Part 4 of Constitution, address the inequalities and also protect the weaker sections. The next feature is tolerance and pluralism. Democracies must respect the diverse opinions. So, Article 25 to 28 promote secularism and also religious freedom. So, tolerance and pluralism are also part of a healthy democracy. The next important feature is decentralization of power. The local governance is strengthened through Panchayat Raj and urban local bodies, which are given in 73rd and 74th Amendments. So, decentralization of power and giving power to local governments are also an important feature of democracy. So, these are the important features of democracy. Now, let us discuss some of the judicial cases which have strengthened democracy in India. The important cases like Kesavananda Bharati case versus State of Kerala in 1973, S.R. Bommai versus Union of India in 1944 safeguarded the democratic principles, and they ensured a balance of power and also protected the rights of citizens. The Minerva Mills case of 1980, the Menaka Gandhi case of 1978, Puttaswamy case of 2017 also ensured the citizens' rights. So these are important judicial cases regarding the democracy. Now let us see what are the important challenges faced by democracy. First one is loss of public trust. Corruption and unfulfilled promises and weak institutions make people lose faith in the leaders. A survey shows that 54% of people globally are dissatisfied with how democracy works. The next important challenge is electoral manipulation. Practices like vote rigging, misinformation, and propaganda distort the elections, and this in turn reduces the public trust in democratic institutions. Next one is inequality. See, the economic disparities and corporate influence reduce the participation by marginalized groups in democracy. Next is polarization. Divided opinions hinder consensus, and the populism often prioritize the short-term gains over democratic values. Next is rule of law. The weakening of rule of law creates corruption, and lack of judicial independence also weaken the governance. So these are some of the important challenges faced by democracy in modern day world. Now, what can be the way forward? In order to strengthen democracies, nations must work on building the strong institutions and ensuring the rule of law. We have to promote the civic education to make citizens aware of their rights and responsibilities. Also, ensuring the transparency and accountability in governance can bring many reforms to strengthen the democracy. Regulating the social media to tackle the misinformation and fake news can also strengthen the democratic institutions. Addressing economic social inequalities by implementing the inclusive policies can strengthen the democracy and also can strengthen the public trust in the democracy. So these are some of the suggestions to strengthen the democracy. So in this discussion, we have seen the basics about democracy, what are the challenges faced by democracy, and what are the suggestions to improve the democracy in today's world. So with this, let us conclude the discussion. With this, we have come to the end of the discussion. If you like the video, please share it with your friends and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.